Hello, YouTube. If you are liking the videos you're seeing here on Commander's Brew, go ahead and hit subscribe down below. And if you're loving it, go check out our Patreon, patreon.com/Commander's Brew. But without further ado, let's get into the set review. Wow, a lot of that rhymed. A lot of that rhymed. Let's get into it. Set review time. Let's go.
Okay, time for the set review. The first thing we're going to talk about is the new mechanics we get. We're going to briefly explain the 5 new mechanics, and we're going to see if they seem like cool commander mechanics. Starting with the one that the Orzhov Guild gets. That one's called Afterlife. And it'll be on a bunch of creatures, and they'll say Afterlife 1 or Afterlife 2, and that means whenever they die, you get extra spirit tokens based, they're like 1/1 flying black and white spirit tokens based on the number. So Afterlife 2, get 2 spirits when it dies. So, I mean, the creatures themselves, like, creatures that make creatures when they die are good for sack strategies. So, like, if that's what I'm going on, I wouldn't mind 1 or 2 of these.
Yeah, no, I don't mind this ability. I think actually this has some I kind of think this has the most potential for commander, but also it's the most underwhelming feeling one. Like, it feels like it doesn't, but I bet you it does. It depends on what creatures we see, but I actually think it's pretty good for commander. There's maybe 1 or 2 other ones that might vie for that position, but I actually think Afterlife is like quietly very good for commander.
Yeah, I think it's important too that the creatures aren't overcosted for your spirits.
Right, yeah.
Like, at the end of the day, it might just be better to spend less CMC to just get direct spirits. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. Totally. And yeah, like you said, pretty specific decks will want it. Stuff that deals with sacrificing and dying and so on. Next we have is Addendum, which is the Azorius mechanic. Basically, Addendum, what it means is that it'll always be on an instant or something with flash or something like that. And it will say that if you cast it in your main phase, then you'll get an additional bonus. So this is something that we've seen, like, it basically feels like it's taken from that
Return to Dust.
Yeah, Return to Dust, exactly. So I like this idea definitely for commander, right? So giving us a little extra value if we decide to play it on our turn or during our main phase, I believe it says, right, specifically.
Yeah. Flexibility is always useful. We're always keeping our eye open for flexibility, as long as they didn't cost it too fairly. Like, as long as the instant isn't overcosted to compensate for that flexibility, then, because, like, for the most part, we really will only want to cast these at instant. And the question I want to ask is, will what we're getting at sorcery speed be worth the wait?
Exactly. What's next?
Oh, next we got Riot. This is the Gruul mechanic. It's very simple. When these creatures enter the battlefield, they will either enter with haste or they will enter with a +1/+1 counter on them. Your choice. If we have like a +1/+1 counter synergy, we are interested in this. But on average, I think the creature bodies that we're going to get with haste are not going to be that impressive because that's just not the way we play commander for the most part.
Yeah, these types of things generally tend to lend themselves to limited way more than they do commander. And obviously constructed when we're looking at 20 life and only 1 other player. But yeah, something like Riot is probably going to fall by the wayside here for EDH.
Yeah, unless the creature happens to have another ability tacked onto it that we care about.
Yeah, exactly. And next is Spectacle, which is the Rakdos mechanic. And Spectacle is just an alternate casting cost if you've dealt damage to an opponent. So you might have it be cheaper, so you might be able to get a larger creature for a bit cheaper if you've already hit your opponent during that turn. Or sometimes, if you've hit your opponent, you can cast it for more cost, and you'll get an added effect. So this is the one where I think half of them might be worth it, and half of them might not be. Again, we'll talk about them when we see them. But I think in general, Spectacle, like, there's bound to be 1 or 2 cards that are relevant for Commander, but I don't think all of them will be.
Yeah, the tricky part is that in Commander, we're generally not doing damage in little bits like this. Like if we're going to do damage, it's going to be in the combat phase, and we're probably hoping to do 20 or 30 at a time, or at least like 1 giant 8 damage thing. But we're rarely casting like relevant, like, ooh, I'll do 1 damage with this effect so I can get a better ability on this. It's generally not something that we've got going on. Again, unless your deck is built around that.
That being said, though, it is way easier in Commander to activate Spectacle, right? Like a Goblin Bombardment or something, or anything that just can shoot, any ping or any Tim type of card.
Sure.
Turns these on like crazy, right? So
Oath of Mages.
Yeah, there you go. So it's very easy to get it going. We'll see if there's anything worth putting in your deck, though.
Yeah, and lastly, we've got Adapt. That's the Simic one. Adapt is very similar to Monstrous in that you can pay some amount of mana to adapt whatever the number is. So if it says Adapt 2, you pay some mana and put 2+1/+1 counters on it. The main difference between this and the old Monstrous mechanic is that Adapt doesn't care if it's been adapted or not. Mm-hmm. It only cares if it has +1/+1 counters.
Right.
So if you remove the +1/+1 counters, you get to adapt again. That was not true of Monstrous. Once it became Monstrous, it was Monstrous forever.
Yeah, and even if you removed the counters from Monstrous, it didn't matter. That thing was Monstrous, and you couldn't do it again. So
yeah,
and like to think about it, like we don't use Monstrous very much in Commander. I'll tell you that much.
It's too expensive.
It's too expensive, and I think Adapt is going to fall into that same category where the Adapt costs are pretty high. And when they're not high, they're on a creature that's irrelevant. They're on like a 2/3 flyer, and you put like 1 or 2 counters on it, and that's just not good enough for Commander. The ones with the big abilities, it's costed quite highly, and so even though that upside of being able to take the counters off and do it again, while that might be relevant for a couple of +1/+1 counter decks, I think in general we're not going to see too much from Adapt. Although, I'm prepared to be wrong about that.
Yeah, the only ones we're going to be interested in are the ones that also carry an extra ability along with it that might say something like creatures with +1/+1 counters get a bonus, because like if it feeds into our synergies. But the Adapt itself, we're generally not interested in.
Yep, agreed. Okay, well, let's start talking about our first cards of the set. Let's start it off. We will be talking about the legendaries first. So all of our commanders are the ones we're going to be tackling here first, because those are the ones that we're most stoked about. Those are the ones that we're most excited about. So let's get right into it here. The first card we have is Judith, the Scourge Diva.
Cool.
Very, very cool. This is our first Judith. This is our first Scourge Diva. So I'm very excited on 2 fronts here. She's the Rakdos, 3 mana, 2/2, 1 black-red. She's a human shaman. She says, other creatures you control get +1/+0, and whenever a non-token creature you control dies, Judith deals 1 damage to any target.
She reminds me a lot of, what's his face?
Old what's his face?
Is it Lizolda the Blood Witch? Where, like, if you sack a red creature, something happens. If you sack a black creature, something different happens.
Yes.
Yeah, and because, like, it has to be non-token. So, obviously, we want to do it in a token deck to give the most +1/+0s, but we can't really sack the non-tokens. But I think I'm going to want to put Judith in the 99 of like, a Lizolda kind of build.
Yeah, I think so, too. It is unfortunate that it's non-token creatures. Because obviously in these colors you want to get little goblins out and you want to be sacking those things. I don't know. I think it's not going to be super powerful or anything, but I think you can build a Judith deck if you like. She has that like what's it called? Not Goblin Bombardment. What's the one like Impact Tremors? She kind of has an Impact Tremors on her, like a not great Impact Tremors.
Wait, no, you mean Goblin Bombardment.
Isn't Impact Tremors when something dies? It deals 1 damage?
No, Impact Tremors when it comes in.
Oh, yeah. I'm thinking of just something of when it dies. There's one that does that too. Anyways.
Yeah.
Anyways, I'm feeling just so on Judith. It's not super exciting to me for Commander. Although, I mean, there's possibly a very aggressive red-black deck there, I guess, with a 3-mana Commander. That's kind of nice. Anyways.
Next, we have Lavinia Azorius Renegade. This is white and blue for a human soldier 2/2. Interesting. Each opponent can't cast non-creature spells with converted mana cost greater than the number of lands that player controls. So, and then there's the other ability. It says, whenever an opponent casts a spell, if no mana was spent to cast it, counter the spell. The first one is interesting. It really just means they can't cast giant X spells, because for the most part, we're not casting spells where we have way more than the number of lands. But there is a couple of workarounds. It does care about the CMC. So, for example, like a Treasure Cruise Delved, if you don't have 8 lands, you can't do that. There's a couple of corner cases.
I think there's more than you think. I think Mana Rocks will play into this a lot, right?
Yeah,
like you can't, if that 6 mana you're about to use is from an artifact, you can't cast it if Lavinia's out.
That's true. But I think the second one is the more important
Yeah,
one.
I think so too.
So this shuts off anything from like what is that enchantment called? That oh boy, it's the big blue one, Mind's Dilation.
Mind's Dilation, yeah.
All these cheaty cards, like Lavinia puts a nice stop to that.
It's kind of funny though, because blue-white is definitely one of the main color combos that wants to do that stuff.
Yeah.
Like all those counter spells that let you recast the thing for free. There's like Mind's Dilation effect. It's a lot of blue effects that do that type of stuff. So that's kind of funny. But
I mean, luckily she only affects opponents, so that's okay. We like that.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. Okay. That's good. This is a real hate bear type of thing. It's really keeping them honest. It's you know what I mean? It's like no freebies, no, nothing, no cheating mana, no cheating mana. Basically, this says, and I actually kind of like that.
It's not a brutal hate bear.
No, it's
right?
not. I agree. Yeah.
It won't stop you from playing your cards. It just makes you play them on curve.
Yeah,
like you have to be patient.
It doesn't I do like that. I do like that a lot. It doesn't stop you from playing. It just makes you like slow down a bit.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. That's
big
cool.
fan.
So yeah, I think you're gonna see decks like. The thing is, when people see this card, they'll go, "Oh, let's put in every hate bear effect," and that's why everyone's gonna hate this card eventually. But Lavinia herself is not that bad. Like if you just wanted to throw this into a blue-white like control-y kind of deck, it's not that bad.
Yeah.
Like it's not too oppressive. Okay. Next we have Nakia of the Old Ways. 3 red-green for the legendary Centaur Druid. She's a 5/5, and she says you can't cast non-creature spells. So that's you. You cannot cast non-creature spells.
Yeah.
And whenever you tap a land for mana, add 1 mana of any type that land produced. So she's a mana doubler. She's a 5 mana 5/5, and she says you can't cast non-creature spells. So you better have all your ramp out already. You better have casted any I don't know, whatever other spells you wanted to cast before you get her out. But honestly, in these colors, that's not that big of a downside. Like if this is the deck you're building, if you're building around her, you're not going to include that many non-creature spells anyways.
Yeah, like if we're gonna build around Nakia, we're gonna want like having a land doubler on our commander is pretty awesome.
It's pretty awesome.
We can get our ramp from creatures that like ramp lands into play, and red and green are the best Hydra colors. So like we can just make some gigantic Hydras with her. The only problem is we gotta put in protection from wraths, because wraths like you can't put like creatures are indestructible. That's a non-creature spell. Like you got to figure out ways to like protect it.
Spearbreaker Behemoth. I actually really right. Like there are ways. Like she's a 5/5, so Spearbreaker Behemoth does protect her as well.
Yeah.
There's stuff to do here. I actually think that while that looks like a pretty massive downside, it's like any what's it called? What are they? Rurik Thar? Like if you're running Rurik Thar, like this might be an option to look at least in the 99, I would say. So that style of deck, I think she's going to shine in those decks.
Yeah, and like we'll get to it, but the Gruul cards in this set give us another Rurik Thar type of thing where like your opponent's casting non-creature things hurts them. So yeah.
Yeah, I actually like Nakia. It's a simple way to build. Like it seems like, right? Like we're just going pure creatures, but I like it. The mana doubler seems powerful to me.
Yeah, I like it too.
Great.
Next up, we've got Prime Speaker Vanafar. This is the one. This is sort of the hype-filled one.
Yeah.
She's an elf ooze wizard. She's 2/4 for 4, 2 and a green and a blue. So you get to tap her, sack another creature, search for a creature card with CMC equal to 1+ that creature's converted mana cost, put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle. Only when you could cast a sorcery.
Right.
So this is sort of like Birthing Pod, but it's free. When I say free, I mean tap instead of pay mana.
Yeah.
I mean, you still had to tap Birthing Pod.
You still had to tap Birthing Pod, yeah.
So like, this is just, whenever they do stuff for free, they're just asking for infinite combos. And I think this card is so powerful that I've lost interest in it. Like, it's almost like too powerful that I'm just like, well, it's kind of on the most on rails you could possibly be.
I feel the same way about this card I feel about Momir Vig, which is when I first saw it, I was so excited because I'm like, oh man, that is powerful. That is so good. But then, yeah, you start thinking about the deck you're going to build, and it's like a Momir deck. It's like, well, then I just tutor every single creature I ever want. Like, that's just going to mean I'm going to get the same stuff over and over again, which is boring to me. And this is kind of the same thing. It's tutoring. I'm going to put in untapping effects, which are going to let me keep, continue to sacrifice. I put something in with like, any of those creatures that can keep getting brought back with like, undying and stuff like that, persist or whatever.
Yep. And like intruder alarm.
Yeah, just exactly. Untapping.
So basically with intruder alarm, you can activate her as many times as you have creatures.
So like, there's no denying that this card is extremely powerful, right? Birthing Pod is a amazing card, great card for every format it's ever been in, I would say, including Commander, obviously. So this putting that ability on a Commander, it almost seems like too much to me. It's too good, like you're saying. Like it's not that interesting to you. And I mean, obviously there are people out there who are just going to be so stoked and are just going to love this card, and I think that's fantastic. But to me, the thing that takes it down is like it's a tutor. It's just gonna, like, when am I ever gonna like not search up the best card for that CMC? When am I ever gonna not do that? I'm gonna do it when I'm if I'm losing, I'm gonna do that, and if I'm winning, I might. But if I'm winning, like, I'm just winning. Like, I don't know.
I think the exciting thing, and it's already happening, the exciting thing is where people will figure out the chains.
Yeah.
Where it's like, okay, if you do this and you do this. But once people have like a nice chain sorted out, then there's not much reason to go outside of that.
Yeah, right? It's almost like Yisan in a way, where it's like, okay, you do this, you do that, and then you win. I can see that definitely happening with her. I mean, I think the CEDH folks are going to just go nuts for this card. I think they're going to love it.
I think so. I've also heard talk within CDH, like, discussions that it's like, maybe she's just, they're just tutoring. Because you got to set up a lot before she gets going. Like, you got to be able to give her haste. You got to have the right things out. Like, you probably need intruder alarm.
Yeah, I guess it's not super easy to give her haste outside of something like Concordant Crossroads or... I mean, there's some creatures, but I think those are
1,000-year elixir.
Isn't there a Surak that gives them? That gives creatures haste or something like that. Anyways, I think what do you think about this card? It's obviously so good that it's so good that we don't like it.
Well, yeah, I like a creative brew.
Yeah.
And I think you can get creative if you try to go outside of the expected things. Like, it's just very fun, but it just seems like, I don't want to be tempted by tutor every turn.
Is there some fun way to use her and make it like ooze tribal? I'm thinking of going like as low power as possible with her, and like, but I think a lot of the ooze cards are mostly sorceries and stuff, right? Like, they make ooze tokens.
A lot of them do.
It's not all of them. There are definitely some, like, there's the one that splits, and then there's the scavenging ooze, of course. Yeah, I mean, I'd be more interested in something like that, like a real janky brew of it. Yeah. And then you're just using her as just like a value thing. Like, you're not putting in lots of stuff to untap. But then this is like, beware. This is a commander that's going to draw a lot of hate.
I think so.
Yeah.
Once people see, but people are going to want to see what you're going to do with it. But once they do,
I don't even think they're going to. I think it's going to be treated like those commanders that are hated out on the spot. Like, this is just a combo commander to me.
It is. It's a combo commander, and that's just not the way I like to brew.
Unfortunately, the Simic commander here is too good. But there's another one, so we'll see. But yeah, Prime Speaker Vanafar. This is going to be a divisive card, but I think, I think it's too good. All right.
I keep wanting to call her Prime Speaker Benefer
You did write that down in the notes.
Yeah, on purpose.
Okay, let's move on to the next one here. I'm not even totally sure how like my final thoughts on Vanafar are, but like, yeah, I don't know. Anyways, next one is Rakdos the Showstopper. 4 black, red for the 6/6 legendary demon. Another Rakdos. This is our third Rakdos that we get. He has flying and trample, as always. And when Rakdos the Showstopper enters the battlefield, flip a coin for each creature that isn't a demon, devil, or imp, and destroy each creature whose coin comes up tails. I like that they don't make you pick heads or tails, I'll tell you that. You just know if it's tails, it's dead.
Yeah.
I hear a lot of people talking about, like, oh, this is going to be such a pain in the ass. Like, there's going to be 1,000 coin flips on some boards. And that's true, but there are apps and websites that you can go and say, flip, 50 coins and tell me how many of them are tails, right? So there is that possibility. And then you just go across and you say, okay, this one wasn't, this one wasn't. It's still even with that, though, it is still kind of a nightmare.
Yeah. Yeah, you could roll a bunch of dice, I guess.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. You go,
odds or evens.
Yeah, you go odds or evens on the dice. I don't think you're ever going to need to flip like 1,000 coins. Like, that's never going to happen. Or even 100. Like, if that's the board state, what am I talking about? This is Commander. Of course that can happen. I like this card, though. I think it's fun. In fact, last week when we did Teza, I first started trying to make a Rakdos deck with some demons and devils and imps, and leaning more towards the devils and imps, like, because obviously demons are, well represented in Magic. I thought, hey, this is fun. We'll see how many devils or imps there are. Turns out there's not many. Certainly not many Commander relevant devils or imps.
Yeah.
The type of deck you'd be building is just like a really thrown together tribal thing that isn't really that good, unfortunately. So maybe we'll see some more devil or imp support in this set and maybe in future sets. But for right now, you're still going to be leaning on demons, I think, for Rakdos. Where do you think he stacks up against the other Rakdai?
Well, I still think Lil Rakdos is the best. Like, the ability to cheat mana in that level is just unparalleled. Yeah. Big Rakdos is nutty. But like, I mean, this one is very fair. Like, it's good card advantage, which Rakdos colors needs. Like, it's not that easy for red to kind of pull that out. Black has good ways of destroying all creatures, but this is like a medium one-sided board wipe, right? And presumably the creatures in your deck that aren't demons, imps, or devils, you don't care if they possibly die from it. You'll probably have ways around that. I don't know.
Well, they won't. Yeah, exactly. And like, I think this goes in a Rakdos deck because it still is a flying trampler 6/6, so it's still a big threat in the air. Plus, it's going to be able to take down half your opponent's creatures. Like, that's pretty solid.
Yeah.
Like, not to mention, I suppose this is an ETB effect, so like if we can get a Rakdos like Blink deck,
oh boy,
can you imagine? I guess it'd probably be more around like reanimating, but yeah, I don't know. I like it. I think I think it's good. It's more of a 99 right now, but it has potential in the future to be a pretty cool commander. And obviously, it can still be a demon commander starting now.
Yeah, I think it's just straight value.
Yeah,
right.
It is. Yeah.
A commander that can do that is great.
Yeah, agreed.
Next up is Teysa Karlov that we already did an episode on. Check out our last Deck Tech episode. We did on Teysa Karlov. This is the 4 mana, 2 white, black human advisor for 2/4. That if any creature dying causes a triggered ability that you control to trigger, you get it twice. And then tokens you control have vigilance and lifelink.
Yeah, I guess I forgot to look at artifacts when I was building this deck because I definitely did leave out Skull Clamp, which is the number 1 card you'd want in this deck, I think.
Pretty much.
But aside from that, if you listen to that episode, you know that I love this card. I think it's definitely my favorite of the legendaries from this set. I love it. It's got 2 like build around abilities on it. One is like just straight tokens. One is just this cool doubling up death triggers. I don't know. I can't say enough good things about this card. I think this is exactly what Commander players want. You can have the choice to build around both. You can only pick one. You build it so many different ways. You can get different types of death triggers. I love it. It's great.
I think it's great.
Yeah. Enough said.
Great. Who's next?
Next is Zagana, Utopian Speaker. So Zagana is back. My third ever EDH deck was Prime Speaker Zagana. Let's see if this new one stacks up. 2 green, blue for a 4/4 Merfolk Wizard. When Zagana, Utopian Speaker, enters the battlefield, if you control another creature with a +1/+1 counter on it, draw a card. And then she has adapt 4 to pay, and you can pay 6 for it. So pay 6 mana, put 4 counters on her. It's if they have no counters on her, you put 4 on. Obviously, we talked about adapt earlier. So she can become an 8/8 for an additional 6 mana. Each creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it has trample.
I think that's great.
Yeah, I think that's pretty good. I think that
that's what you want on creatures with +1/+1 counters on it, because presumably they're gigantic creatures.
Yeah, agreed.
I mean, maybe flight would be the only better choice, but like, yeah, give me trample on them. 4 mana for a 4/4 is not nothing. I mean, we're not excited to like those stats aren't impressive in Commander on their own, but like 4 mana for my Commander means I can get her out there a couple of times, and I'm probably not like, I will draw a card when I cast my Commander because of the way my deck is built, no doubt. Like for sure I'll be able to do that. And like, I can think of some gigantic creatures that have +1/+1 counters that is just like, well, it doesn't have trample, that sucks. But it's like, well, now they all do, so great. So your opponents always have to be aware that like your board could go from a bunch of gigantic chumpable things to like, well, you're threatening lethal as soon as you cast your Commander. So they have to recognize the power.
Yeah, I'm wondering, like, is this better than the like original Zagana for a +1/+1 counter deck? Like, would you rather have this 4 mana option that gives trample, or would you rather have the 6 mana option that's going to draw you a bunch of cards?
Well, this is right. I mean, they both are better in different board states.
Yeah. Agreed.
I don't know.
I think one of the big upsides of this Zagana is that she opens up some card slots. So like a lot of times you would include multiple cards that would give +1/+1 creatures trample, right? Like there's a Crown Ceratok, I think it is, and then there's the Outlast one. You might forego those cards for extra other things now, right? Because you've got it on your Commander, and because she's not a super threatening Commander. Like if you're not using the adapt, she's a 4 mana 4/4. Like I don't think a lot of people are going to look at her as a big threat, so she might be able to sit out on the board for the majority of the game. Obviously, not counting board wipes or whatever, but like I think that other creatures like your big Hydras and your big sea monsters that have counters on them are probably going to be a little more scary for people to, and they're going to want to remove them as opposed to your Commander, right? Like,
well, and then how do your opponents block if you've got mana up, right? Like, because like you can let 4 through, but if I've got 6 mana, I could all of a sudden make her an 8/8.
Yeah.
And now you're taking 8 Commander damage.
Yeah, I think there's this goes in that deck. Obviously, this goes in that either it's like Sea Creatures deck or like you can add a +1/+1 theme to it, or obviously the more hard on like +1/+1 like counter deck where we've got like Graft Creatures and we got all this kind of stuff in there. I think like that's another deck. She's certainly playable in those decks either as a Commander or in the 99. But it's not a terrifying it's not a terribly flashy Commander though, right? Like these are just like solid abilities. It's nothing I'm too excited about though.
Yeah, that seems to be a lot of Simic stuff. Just good counters, good making stuff better.
Well, is it? I mean, Vanafar is totally flashy, totally crazy.
Oh no, yeah.
But Zagana brings us right back down to earth. It's like a very fair ability. We draw 1 card when she comes in, and only if we have another creature with a +1/+1 counter. And she gives trample, but only to creatures with +1/+1. Like how how nuts would it be if she just gave everything trample?
I mean, I don't think it's going to be that much more nuts.
Exactly. Like, I don't think it's that much better. Like, I actually kind of would have preferred that because then it would have been more like Teza where, we can build this around +1/+1 counters if we want. And we're still incentivized to because she gives them trample. But now we only can use her in +1/+1 counter decks. You know what I mean?
That's right.
Like Teza can do death triggers, but she doesn't have to be in tokens or vice versa. Whereas Zagana is pigeonholed. If she gave all your creatures trample, is that good? Like, it's obviously it's good, but I don't think it makes her broken or anything. I really wish they would have done that, because then you can make her. Then you can do the Sea Monsters deck or whatever else, and not have to worry about also jamming in +1/+1 counters.
Right.
Or if she had some way to put counters on something else, maybe that would have been better. I don't know.
Yeah, like if it gave all your creatures adapt 1.
Yeah,
with
right?
for like
3
1
or 4
green
or
blue or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm a little underwhelmed. I don't think this card has 0 value or anything like that, but I'm pretty underwhelmed, and I just wish they had taken. Ah, man, I wish they'd taken a note from whoever designed Teysa, because they hit that one out of the park.
Yeah.
Whereas this seems like it was maybe like a shallow single to left field.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we've got one legendary creature left. This one was with the Buy a Box promo. You can only get this from Buy a Box. So if you buy a box, you get the Haunt of Hightower. 4 black for a legendary creature vampire that starts as a 3/3. It has flying and lifelink. And whenever it attacks, defending player discards a card. Okay, so that's kind of annoying. That's 6 mana. It's a lot of mana to get that. And whenever a card is put into an opponent's graveyard from anywhere, put a +1/+1 counter on the Haunt of Hightower. Well, that's pretty interesting because when it says from anywhere, that means whenever they cast an instant or sorcery, that card goes into the graveyard from anywhere. So whenever you mill them, whenever you make them discard, people hate when you make them discard a bunch. So like that's not something I would advise building a deck around. But like this card just sitting on the battlefield will eventually get very large, and as a flying lifelinker, that's something.
Yeah, I think this is obviously very powerful in a vampire deck. Like in the 99, I think this card's great. This card is straight up terrifying if it's your commander. You pay 6 and you do something where, I don't know, you make people like, I guess it's mono black, so you can't really do that. I was thinking like you make people mill a bunch, or you make them like wheel or something. But yeah,
you can't do that in black.
You can't really do that in mono black. So that's why I think it does have more value.
The only thing you can do is everyone discard their hands.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. And then like you don't really need other stuff to make that win,
No.
you know?
No.
But I think the shines in Dimir, this is great. This could even be really good in like a red, like a Grixis deck where there's wheeling going on and stuff. Like,
oh man, yeah.
Yeah, I think this card's cool. I think
it's cool.
You know, will it be played in Standard? Will this be the Nexus of Fate? The funny thing is I think that like there's maybe some potential. I don't know. Is there anything that makes people discard or mill a lot? Yeah, there is, right? There's a lot of those Dimir cards which are discard cards, and there's some mill stuff in Standard right now. So I could see.
I don't think you can make people pay 6 for this.
Yeah, that's true. 6 is a lot. You're right. You're absolutely right. 6 is too much. But I love this card in the 99 of like a mill thing or something where you're wheeling a lot.
Yeah, me too.
Cool. Well, there you go. That's all the legendary creatures. That is that's everything that they got for us for new commanders. I think Teysa obviously stands out as the best and most like balanced and everything. Vanafar is probably the most powerful.
I think Nakia is interesting.
Yep, agreed. Lavinia. I know some people are real excited about Lavinia too, which I think is cool.
Yeah.
Judith seems to be the most underwhelming to me. Although Zagana, I think I expected more from, and I'm like the most like, oh, big deal, you know?
Yeah.
Anyways, let's move on. Let's get into the colorless, the colorless cards here for Commander. We're starting in on our mono colors and colorless first, and then we'll get to the multicolored, and then we'll hit some planeswalkers and lands at the end. Let's start it up here, colorless, with what is it? Screaming Shield.
Screaming Shield. I really just put this one in to have the question: is this a screaming bald guy?
Yeah, exactly. So a fun question to ask right off the top, and I think you know what? This guy's definitely not bald. I can see little hairs coming out of his head.
Yeah, is that shield markings? No, that's hair, not bald. So screaming yes, bald no.
Bald no. But you know what? I love an equipment that somehow fits in the Screaming Bald Guy deck, so I am very stoked about this.
Yeah, great.
Go back and listen to what episode is it? Oh,
was it? I'm gonna guess 121.
It's so old. It's episode 98, Screaming Bald Guys. By the way, if you type in Screaming Bald Guys into Google,
Yeah.
our episode is the first thing that comes up, which
Nice.
I'm very proud of. So
Yes.
So yeah, episode 98, Screaming Bald Guys is the deck we built, and this will go fit right into it.
Yeah. This might be the only card with screaming in its title.
Ooh, good call. And which case, it doesn't matter if he has hair. We have to put this in.
Yeah.
It also looks like the soldier behind the shield might be bald.
Oh, could be. I mean, that's definitely the Selesnya, shape, like that little weird tree shape.
Yes, good call. It is, yeah. Weird. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Anyway, we would never run this in Commander otherwise.
Not playable at all.
But the real colorless card in this set that I think is worth a discussion is Tomo the Guild Pack. 5 generic for an artifact. Whenever you cast a multicolored spell, draw a card, tap, add 1 mana of any color. So it's a very overcosted mana rock. We expect add 1 mana of any color to be about 3 on the front side of it. But getting to draw extra cards is certainly relevant. I think I like this in a Boros deck because it's hard to ramp, it's hard to draw cards, but I don't know if I want this in any other deck. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, I think it's as simple as looking at the number of multicolored spells you have in your deck. If you have more than, 15? I'd say.
But is that worth the 5 to draw? Like, if you're blue, you just have better card draw. You probably don't need this.
That's true. I guess. Yeah. If you're blue, you're not super stoked about this. I think I want like 20 multicolored spells, which is harder than it sounds.
Yeah. It's hard.
But if you're playing like 3 colors or 4 colors, you might have more than that. I don't know. It's all about what you're doing with your deck. I think I like your idea of Boros because I always find when I'm playing Boros decks, there are a lot of multicolored. Like, I use a lot of the Boros cards because they tend to just be better at the things I want to do in Boros. You're casting Erois and what's the Minotaur? That's a wizard. And the worst
I
with
don't
names.
know.
The Minotaur that hits players when it gets hit.
Boros Reckoner.
Boros Reckoner. Thank you. Cards like that. I find you tend to use a lot of those in Boros decks, so it might be an all-star there. But yeah, look at the number of multicolored cards in your deck. That's the most important thing. And I'd say like 20 is where you want to be, which is a lot.
Great.
Okay, well, that's it for colorless. Nothing else really jumped out at us or screamed at us about this one. So let's get right into white. Starting at the top of the color pie here and going down, we got a big mythic creature here in white. It's Angel of Grace, 3 white for the 5/4 with flash. It has flying. When Angel of Grace enters the battlefield, until end of turn, damage that would reduce your life total to less than 1 reduces it to 1 instead. And then you can pay 6 and exile it from your graveyard, and your life total becomes 10. We've got a couple of these effects now in available to us in Commander. A 5-mana 5/5 flash flying angel is pretty good, like in and of itself. This added ability of the exiling it from your graveyard is probably mostly irrelevant, I think, in that like it's nice to gain 10 life randomly, but it's like people can take that into effect when they're trying to kill you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they know that you're at that, like, if you have the 6 mana up, they know that your life total is actually 10 higher than it is. So,
I mean, it doesn't make the card any worse by having it, but I don't put much weight on it.
Exactly. That's all I mean. And, but this, the ability of, reducing the damage to 1 instead of anything less than 1 is something. It's one of those ways to save your life. We got a couple of these effects now in Magic, but I like this one. I think it's pretty good. It also stops like other Obviously, it stops you from dying. But if you're at the 1, it stops like their damage effects maybe from happening.
Yeah,
stuff like that. Yeah, I'm aware of cards like this because there's one of these in Plants vs Zombies Heroes, which is another, and that card is pretty good.
Yeah. So yeah, it's good in Plants vs Zombies, so it's good in Commander.
Yeah, I think I like this kind of better than some of the other ones because it like flashes in, which I think is it's nice to like. I never want to play the artifact one because people are just gonna do their damnedest to remove it, whereas like Angel of Grace can pop in and people think they have you, and then you're done.
That's always a nice ability.
Yeah.
Another interesting card. I think it's so interesting. Lumbering Battlement. 4 and a white for a beast with vigilance. It's 4/5. When it enters the battlefield, exile any number of other non-token creatures you control. It has to be ones that you control until it leaves the battlefield. And it gets +2/+2 for each card exiled with it. So obviously, we have the capability of making this thing enormous. Like if we exile a bunch of stuff, but then we've exiled our whole board for this enormous thing. That doesn't sound great to me. But if we've got a lot of ETB stuff, we can sack this thing and get them all again. Or we can just have it around and just be like, sure, I got a bunch of tokens and I got this guy and a bunch of non-tokens under him. Go ahead and Wrath if you want. But I've still got this enormous creature and this enormous board of tokens. Like, this seems good.
Yeah, I think there's some decks that are going to want this card. Imagine this had flash though. Wow, that would be really good.
Yeah.
But yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I like this because it seems to be doing something that we don't see all that often. Like this gives you another option for stuff to do. If you have blink stuff out on the battlefield, and you want to like blink to save a couple of things, well, you can just blink the Lumbering Battlement, and it in and of itself can save things, right? Like.
Blinking Lumbering Battlement just resets your whole board's ETBs.
Yeah.
You could just blink and then get it all back.
And all you do is blink this guy. So, like, that's where I think a lot of the value is going to come in. And you can do the same thing in response to a board wipe. Like, now all of a sudden, Lumbering Battlement protects your whole team.
Oh, Rune, get in there.
Right? So I think this card is, I think you're right. I think this card is pretty good.
Yeah, okay.
Obviously in very specific builds, but you're not just putting this in anything. But I think it's cool.
Nice.
Next we have, this is an exciting one, Smothering Tithe. I know our boy Mike is very stoked about this one. Smothering Tithe is 3 and a white for an enchantment that says whenever an opponent draws a card, that player may pay 2, colorless, or generic rather. If the player doesn't, you create a colorless treasure artifact token that you can use for any color of mana. So it's a 4 mana enchantment that whenever your opponents draw, you ramp, essentially.
Basically, like temporary ramp, the treasures aren't permanent, but they count as artifacts if you care about artifacts. I can't see a world where your opponents will pay the 2 to prevent you from getting a treasure, right? Like we pay for Aristic Study because it's not worth letting your opponents draw a card, but a bit of ramp seems harmless. So like this is White's ramp card. Like I think this is the card I'm the most excited about in the set probably because again, it shows us that Wizards is, I think they're considering Commander and are like, White needs this little bit of a boost, and this seems like a fair way for White to ramp, and I love it.
I love it too. I think this card is amazing. This goes in artifact decks. It goes in just mono white decks. It goes in Boros. It goes in a lot of white. Like maybe it doesn't go in like, I don't know what, Bant or green, like anything with green in it already, like where White just doesn't need the ramp at all. But even then, it's not bad.
It's like I mean, you got to spend a card on it, and you take the better part of a turn off by casting it. But then it's just like at some point, every time around the table, you've got 3 more mana to play with if you want.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think very rarely are we going to see people pay 2 because most of the time you're going to be getting this off the first draw, right? So people are going to draw the card and then say at the beginning of your turn, do you want 2 less mana? And I guess if they're like, okay, well, I definitely can only use 4 of the 6 mana anyways that I have, so like forget about it. But I think you're right though, man. I think for the most part, those first draws, there's no way they're paying 2. And then if you've got a blue player that's drawing 4, 5, 6 cards in a turn, there's no way they're paying 2.
There's no way. Like that's like we're talking about worst case scenario where like you get 3 in a rotation. One table rotation, like if one player if a player wheels.
Oh, yeah.
Are you kidding me? Do you think anybody is paying 14 mana off of a wheel? Like you're going to get 21 treasures off of a straight draw 7 wheel.
This goes in combo decks. This goes in control decks. And this goes in aggressive decks, honestly. I know that taking 4 mana and taking whatever, like turn 4 off to do this might not seem like something an aggressive deck wants to do. But like, this is Commander. This isn't just breakneck speed aggressiveness. Like this can still slot in there and be very helpful because then think about it, you'll probably make that mana back in a 5-person game. You definitely will, but otherwise you're probably making that mana back by the next turn, right? Like so
easy.
Man, this card is fantastic.
Yeah, I love it.
Get a lot of them. I'm so glad it's just a rare.
Yes.
Whew. Oh man. Is that it for white? No, there's one more. We have one more for white here. It's Unbreakable Formation. It's 2 and a white for an instant that says creatures you control gain indestructible until end of turn. If you know our show, you know that we are a fan of these types of effects, especially in decks that don't use blue, because these are great ways to get around board wipes. So you can protect your board with these cards, and it acts kind of like a counter spell specifically to board wipes, and leaves you way ahead of your opponent. So I think like you and I are into these cards. I don't know if everyone else is. I think these are some of the most underrated cards in Commander. This one specifically has an addendum, though. Quite literally, it has addendum. If you cast a spell during your main phase, you put a +1/+1 counter on each of those creatures, and they gain vigilance until end of turn. So the other two versions of this, in case you're not aware, the ones that we mostly talk about, one of them is Rootborn Defenses, which is the same cost for the same effect, except that you also populate a creature. So you populate a token. And I never remember the other version, because I mostly
Make a Stand.
Make a Stand, which gives everyone +1/+0 as well, right?
So yeah, Make a Stand is obviously going to be better if you also might attack with a big board.
Mm-hmm.
Right, because you can cast it offensively to do extra damage.
Mm-hmm.
The Populate one doesn't have a huge offensive thing. This one, this offensive one is different, because you get a permanent boost on your turn, but they also have Vigilance and Indestructible, so you get to do a full attack anyway.
Yeah,
I'm intrigued by the flexibility of this.
Yeah, I think this is like a really good move for like the mono white like soldier token deck. I think this is strong there, which you want to have those abilities too anyways, just because a lot of those decks just kind of slowly build up their tokens as opposed to, spitting them all out in one turn.
Yeah.
This allows that strategy to work, like these types of cards. That's why I like them so much.
I also really like the line where if you have enough mana to cast this plus one of your own wraths, then you can just be like, well, I'll make all my creatures indestructible, +1/+1 in vigilance. Yeah. I'll wrath the board, and now I'll attack everybody.
Yeah, that is a really strong move for those decks. The permanent boost is nice here. I think this is better than Make a Stand.
I think so too.
And I think it's generally better than Rootborn Defenses, unless you're running like something that makes copies of creatures tokens and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. That's it for white.
Yeah.
Shall we move on to blue? So we've separated the monocolor cards from the multicolor cards. We'll get to those end. But as far as blue cards, we have a few we want to highlight. The first of which is Eyes Everywhere, 2 and a blue for an enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, scry 1. That's also decent, like being able to scry every turn. That certainly helps. And then we've got an ability, 5 and a blue, exchange control of Eyes Everywhere and target non-land permanent. Activate only when you could activate a sorcery. So you basically get to like scoop anything on your turn.
Yeah.
They will get to scoop it back because you've exchanged it. If they have blue, though, like they have to pay blue to do it.
Yeah, that's true.
So you could scoop something from someone who has no way to make blue mana forever.
That is interesting. I didn't even think of that. I just kept thinking of like, oh, it's 6 mana, which is a lot to exchange just for something else. But they can just do it again to take things back or do it to someone else. But it's like, yeah, you're right. If they don't have blue, they can't. You are giving them the scry 1 trigger, which is pretty minimal.
That's true.
It's not nothing.
I forgot about that. Yeah,
it's not nothing, but it is. It's something. I guess, by definition. Yeah, I don't know. I think obviously people are like Thassa comes to mind because it's the same casting cost and the same ability there. The scry 1. So obviously, if you're going to run Thassa over this, I think, but. Like Zedru, is Zedru gonna like this card? Maybe is something where where we care about being able to own our opponents control our opponent's stuff, or they control our stuff. Yeah, so it's something to keep an eye out for those decks. I think.
Yeah,
you could just and like you said, like if they're not running blue, you can take a very good permanent with this.
Yeah, and even if they have a way to make some blue mana, they have to spend a lot of resources to get it back. So.
I mean, you had to spend them in the first place too, so.
You do, but like you're going to do it when it's convenient for you, and they might not be able to wait until it's convenient for them.
This is why you run sack outlets. Listen to our episodes, or the CB vlog about sack outlets. Next in blue, this one I saw this early. Very stoked about this one. Mass Manipulation. X blue. This one is a big spell. It's a sorcery, and it says gain control of X target creatures and or planeswalkers. It's kind of interesting that it doesn't just say non-land permanents. Like it feels like that, that would have been fine. But either way, I'm still excited about this card. This is a commander card, right? Like,
yeah,
you're gonna generate a ton of mana somehow, whether it's infinite mana or just whatever, just a lot. You got to have 4 blue to do it. It's double X, so the smallest I think you're gonna want to do this for is 8, right? X equals 2.
Right. 8 mana to get 2 things.
8 mana to just steal 2 creatures and or planeswalkers. I think this card is like good fun, but you have to have it in those decks that are just producing too much mana. Like this has to be your like really crazy big almost finisher type thing.
I mean, I consider, like, I think it's reasonable to run in Bolus's Clutches because you can steal planeswalkers with that.
Yeah.
That costs 6 to get you 1 of anything.
Yeah.
But this also costs you 6 to get 1 planeswalker, and you have the option of getting more things. Like, man, I'm gonna try to run this, and I'm going to try to steal a planeswalker right before when they're ready to ultimate. They just have to untap. But instead, I will take it, and I will ultimate that planeswalker.
Yeah. That is. I think that's what you want to do with the planeswalker. So if you've got a Super Friends deck in your meta, or someone who loves running planeswalkers, this card goes up in value. If you're not seeing a lot of those, I think it's still good. Honestly, I think it's still pretty fun to run.
Can you imagine stealing someone's Atraxa and one of their super friends like with this? Like, what a burn!
What a huge burn! Yeah, I like Mass Manipulation. I'm not fooling myself. Like, this is a late game card, though.
Yeah.
Like, I think if you're casting this for 6, you're probably not super happy about it. Even for 8, I think you're like, oh, I guess I'll take 2 things. But I think in Commander, it's a great 75% card. I know Jason was also stoked about this one probably because of that. But it's just, you get to take 2 of the best things on the board, basically. I think it's lots of fun. Again, another reason to run your sack outlets.
Yep.
But I love it. I'm stoked.
I don't know about any sack outlets for planeswalkers besides permanents, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. Like Claws of Gix or something you're going to need.
Right. Ooh, what do you think about this next card, Andy?
Oh, okay. Persistent Petitioners.
1
in a blue for the 1/3 Human Advisor that says pay 1 and tap. Target player puts the top card of their library into their graveyard. But you can also tap 4 untapped advisors you control. Target player puts the top 12 cards of their library into their graveyard. And a deck can have any number of cards named Persistent Petitioners. So this is the new what are they called? Oh, man.
Like the rats.
Yeah, the black creature. The sacrifice them, get a demon.
Oh, the clerics.
It's only a very popular deck archetype.
Yeah, it's like the cleric sack deck. That's what everyone calls it.
Sure, that's what they call it.
Don't they?
No, it's got a specific creature name.
Yeah, he has a creature name, but no one uses it.
Yeah, they do.
Okay,
well, whatever. I cannot remember the name of that card, even though. Anyways, whatever. This is the new version of that. So basically, if you're drafting this set, you're going to see this common, and you're going to say, this common's garbage. I don't ever want this. But those cards are worth like $1 or $2 after a while, because people will put these in. Because it's such a rare thing you're allowed to do in Commander, people will try and make this deck. People will make the 30 Persistent Petitioners deck. Like, it's going to be a thing. I promise you. This is going to be the mill deck. It's going to be the Persistent Petitioners
deck. The Advisors Tribal deck?
Yeah. I don't even... Yeah, exactly. You can also include other advisors, but really it's like they're just going to include tons of these guys, because paying this ability multiple times, I guess, doesn't stack, but just being able to have them all cost 2 and they're all 1/3s, I think people are going to do this. I don't think it's necessarily going to be good. I just think like it's going to happen. You're going to see it.
Yeah.
So take these cards and then trade them for $1, because that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, I hope so.
I think that's all there's to say about that.
Okay, next up is Verity Circle. 2 and a blue for an enchantment. Whenever a creature an opponent controls becomes tapped, if it isn't being declared as an attacker, you may draw a card. 4 and a blue, tap target creature without flying. So this is an interesting one, because it's a 3-mana do-nothing enchantment, but depending on your meta, you know what kind of meta you're up against. This could potentially draw you tons of cards. Like a Derevi deck hates to see this card on the battlefield because like they're
Shadowborn Apostle. Anyways,
Shadowborn Apostles. Okay,
that's what they are. Anyways, okay. Carry on. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Yeah, I thought there was a technical issue.
Nope, it's Shadowborn Apostle. That's the card I was thinking of.
Yeah. You know what? Now that you say that, I do hear that name.
Of course you do. It's not just the Cleric Sack deck.
But I mean, that's okay.
That is what it is, though. You're right, though. You're not wrong. That's not a bad explanation of it. But yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyways, Verity Circle.
Yeah. So, like, this is a meta-dependent card. I think having it in casting as enchantment, if you think you can draw 2 or 3 cards off of it, this is good. It's a good value. And you'll know your metas better than we do. Like, there's the potential to draw an awful lot of cards with this. Any mana dork is going to draw you cards.
Yeah, that's true.
Anytime anyone crews a vehicle, that's drawing cards.
Yeah.
There's so many things where this will matter. And then having a mana sink, I mean, it's not a great mana sink, but it's not the worst one that there ever was.
Agreed. You'd be surprised how actually useful just tapping a creature is.
Because that also means drawing a card.
Yeah, exactly. So pay 5 to draw a card and also prevent a massive thing on the ground from attacking.
Yeah.
I think you would be surprised at how good that is, how useful that is. But I think there's one commander that this is going in, and there's no question about it. This is everyone with a Derevi. Anyone with a Derevi deck, this is going in, because now all your little unblockable guys and Derevi not only taps your opponent's cards, or taps your opponent's creatures, you're also drawing so many cards off of it. So I'm excited to put that in my deck.
Yep.
Next, that's it. That's it for blue. There we are.
Light for blue.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of redundant, like not redundant, but just like a lot of stuff you've seen before. A lot of stuff that cares about +1/+1 counters because of the Simic. We're seeing a lot of limited, very relevant limited cards, but not too many for commander. But that's kind of how it is. Anyways, let's move on to black.
It's hard to top the old days of blue. As commander players, we have the best blue cards of all time. So
and I don't mind these cards that come in and are pretty narrow, like your Verity Circles or even like Eyes Everywhere. Like I think that's cool. I like that. Like give those decks that want them a specific, give them a new card.
Okay, we got a good one for black to start off with. I want to hear. I've heard people getting excited about this, and I can't really figure out why. Maybe you can help us figure this out.
Yeah.
Awaken the Erstwhile, 3 black for a sorcery. Each player discards all the cards in their hand, then creates that many 2/2 black zombie creature tokens.
So you say you've heard people say that this is going to be good?
I've heard someone say like, "Ooh, I'm excited about this card for EDH," and I'm like, "Why did you say that?
Why?" Yeah, I don't know. I don't get it. I don't know. I guess each player discarding all the cards in their hand is something.
Okay, but you do too.
Right, but you do too. And I guess you can plan for it and you can be ready for it. You have a deck that maybe cares about it even. So that's something. But you're giving players... Like, my thing is, like, I don't really want to play this card because there's going to be a blue player with a ton of cards in their hand and they're going to get 7 or 8 or even more black zombie creature tokens.
Yeah, I mean, like, you're going to crack your instant speed draw spells before this thing goes off, so they're probably going to get even a few more, as long as they get more than one card out of it.
Yeah, and again, like, we can probably make it so that we're getting more, because obviously we have this card in our deck and we're planning around it. But there's still, I think, a lot of situations where you're just going to even out with someone. And if that player has any like on-board draw effects, like a Heuristic Study or something, then they're just going to get right back in the game very quickly.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, is there something where us giving our opponents zombies is helpful?
I guess if you've already put this in a discard deck where you're like, well, you all have no cards anyway, so I'm the only one really discarding cards with zombies. If you have Waste Not out, you can also get a bunch more mana and draw a bunch more cards off of it because of Waste Not.
Yeah. And you can make even more zombie creature tokens for yourself if you're discarding lands and stuff. Yeah. So I guess it goes in that deck. I think that's probably reasonable.
Okay.
Yeah, all right. So again, another like narrow card for kind of a specific deck, but I don't mind it. I like giving those decks tools, like I said. Next in black we have Font of Agonies. It's a 1 black mana for an enchantment. It's a rare, and it says whenever you pay life, put that many blood counters on Font of Agonies, and then pay 1 and a black to remove 4 blood counters from Font of Agonies and destroy target creature.
Okay.
Again, pretty narrow, I think. Pretty specific type of deck that's going to want this. Obviously, if you're not paying life, you are not interested in this card. And it's going to probably be like an Orzhov type of deck where you're going to be gaining life, paying life for stuff. I don't know, like, is there a deck out there that pays a lot of life for something? Like,
I mean, any decks that have like run greed effects or have a lot of Phyrexian mana symbols. Like, I mean, if I've got a birthing pod, I'm paying 2 life every activation, most likely. So, like, that's not bad.
I think, it's just how many activations are you going to be able to get out of this, you think? Like, we got to remove 4 blood counters. That's kind of a lot, it feels like. Like, this isn't just, like, attrition or something, like, where you're being able to do this basically whenever you want. Like, this is...
And if you're not also gaining life, you can't realistically get more than 2 or 3 activations anyway before you've spent more life than you could spend in a game.
Yeah, exactly. I think this is an even more, like, very specific card, which makes it probably not even worth it.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Unless you know your deck wants this, then this is probably not a great card.
Yeah, agreed. What's next?
Ooh, Priest of Forgotten Gods. 1 and a black human cleric, 1/2. Tap and sacrifice 2 other creatures. So that's a lot of sacrificing. Any number of target players each lose 2 life and sacrifice a creature. You add black and draw a card. I mean, that's a lot.
That is a lot. Yeah.
You get a lot for those 2 creatures.
Yeah, you do. I think this is cool. I think that this is the type of card I'm willing to, like, put in a deck and see how good it is, you know? Because at first it seems like, I got to sacrifice 2 other creatures, and it's tap like that. Those are kind of things that make me not want to play it. But then when you see what you get, you know, they sack a creature and you get mana and you draw a card. That seems like it's good enough now. Like, I'm interested. I'm definitely gonna throw this in that type of, like, aristocrat type of deck and see. Like, this goes in that Teza deck that we built for sure.
Ooh, big time.
Right? Like, I'm very stoked to play this card in there. So, yeah, I like it. Okay, we skipped one.
Oops. It's out of order on the tabs.
Yeah, that's okay. Is that the next?
Yes.
Oh, there it is. Okay. Yeah, so we didn't skip it. It's right here. It's Pestilent Spirit. It's 2 and a black for a 3/2. It has Menace and Death Touch. It's a spirit. And it says, instant and sorcery spells you control have Death Touch. So first of all, Menace and Death Touch is a very neat ability. Will it be relevant for Commander? I'm not sure, because it is only a 3/2. So there's lots of ways to deal with that. You can put 2 tokens in front of it. It's not a big deal. But it is interesting to pair those 2. I think that, obviously it makes it harder for any real creatures to block it. But I think the more relevant and interesting ability here is the instant and sorcery spells you control have Death Touch.
That's huge.
Yeah, we don't see this type of thing too much, right? Where a keyword gets, from a creature gets put on instants and sorceries. So it's really cool to have. And Sean, you pointed out, of course, astutely, that really, though, any black instant and sorcery spell is probably going to kill something anyways.
Yeah, black instant sorceries don't do damage. We want this with red. We got to pair this with red.
Yeah, this might as well be a Rakdos card. This might as well be black and red.
And there are numerous red instants or sorceries that do 1 damage to each creature your opponents control. Yeah. So it's like this turns on some pretty mean and easy one-sided wraths if you have red and black.
Like, if this was the red and black legendary, that would be great.
Oh my god, why not?
Can you see that? Like, maybe it's a little undercosted as it is or something. Like, maybe it's for standard or whatever. But if this, because this costs 3, so, like, bump that up to 4. I don't know, maybe even 5. I don't know. Something that gets it out of the range where it's too broken for a standard or something. And whatever you have to do, make this a commander card. Make this red and black. Menace and Death Touch on a commander. I love.
Yeah,
I think that's fantastic. Because, again, we can make this kind of Voltron-y if we want now. Now we can do other things with it. But also this instant and sorcery spells get Death Touch. That is, like, that's screaming for a deck to be built around it. That's amazing.
Yeah.
I love it. Why didn't
while
they
we're
make
here,
this a legendary?
And while we're here, can we change the creature type to skeleton?
It's clearly a skeleton.
Yeah.
Actually, no, wait.
Ain't no spirit.
No, that's not the creature. I think what we're seeing here is the green, like, smoke is the creature.
Oh, and the skeleton is who he just disintegrated.
Yeah.
Ew, gross.
It's stench corrodes steel. It's miasma sickens angels. Its finality ends hope. So yeah, the skeleton isn't the creature here. I think it's the smoky.
My mistake.
I mean, it's easy to make the mistake. There's no face. The spirit doesn't have a face. It's just smoke.
Yeah.
Still cool though, and a cool card. And I think, at the risk of being maybe too critical, they missed. I think they might have missed an opportunity to make this a really cool legendary.
Okay, I have a question. Is this an inappropriate question? Is the pestilent spirit a fart?
That is the all-time worst fart, if it is. Because look at what it's doing to this poor person.
It disintegrated.
It fully melted their flesh off. And it's so thick you can see it.
It's green, which is
green,
the color of fart.
Which is ask any cartoon. Oh man, yeah. If it is, it's the worst that's ever existed in any real life or fiction.
now read the flavor text, thinking that this is a fart.
Its stench corrodes steel. Its miasma sickens angels. Its finality ends hope. Oh, I've never had a fart that ended hope. It's never been that bad. There's been some that have come close, but
yeah, we mustn't lose hope. I know this fart is bad, but we mustn't lose hope.
One time my friend farted and it lived on our couch, like in a ball above the couch, but it was only in this one specific area, like over here, and we were like, that fart is right there. Like it's literally is like above in this confined area. That's the closest I've ever seen to a pestilent spirit in real life. Oh God. Oh wow. Okay. Well, just only the highest brow of humor around these parts. Okay, let's see what do we have next here.
Vindictive Vampire, 3 and a black for a vampire, 2/3. Whenever another creature you control dies, Vindictive Vampire deals 1 damage to each opponent, and you gain 1 life. So this is another one of those sort of drain type creatures that go in aristocrat decks. This one affects each opponent, and you gain life, but it has to be a creature you control.
Yeah, this is Zulaport Cutthroat.
Okay, so it's a more expensive Zulaport Cutthroat.
Yeah.
I mean, do we need another one of these? I don't think so.
Yeah, I mean, maybe the vampire decks will sub out the Zulaport Cutthroats they've been running for just because it's a vampire, obviously. For a little bit added value there. Yeah, maybe because the other ones that we know, Blood Artist, Falconwrath Aristocrat, and Falconwrath Noble. Sorry,
Falconwrath Noble, Blood Artist, Zulaport Cutthroat.
Those are
the big
all
3
vampires except for the Zulaport Cutthroat. So I guess they were like, let's make a Zulaport Cutthroat that's a vampire.
Yeah.
Okay, so there you go. That's for you there, vampire decks. Next, that's it. That's it for black.
Great.
I'm looking right at the notes, but there's another card there. Black. Black seems pretty cool. I mean, again, I wish that Pestilent Spirit was a legendary. That would be a neat deck to build around. But
yeah,
what you gonna do? Let's move on to red here. Generally speaking, red tends to have the least for us because the good red cards are always, the power points are always put into the limited or the standard environments. We don't get a lot of super relevant cards for EDH usually, but in mono red especially. But let's see what we have here. First, starting off, we have Cavalcade of Calamity. It's 1 in a red for an enchantment that says, whenever a creature you control with power 1 or less attacks, Cavalcade of Calamity deals 1 damage to the player or planeswalker that creature is attacking. I think you made a good point here in the notes that being able to hit planeswalkers, no matter what, even if they're blocked with your group of tokens, so goblin decks or whatever, I think that is something, because sometimes they'll have the shields up and you won't be able to get through, but it doesn't really matter. Obviously, this is just good in those go wide token decks. You're gonna consider this card, I think. Yeah, not bad.
Yeah, I mean, if you've got a deck full of 1/1 tokens, consider this card.
Yeah, there you go.
So next up is Electro Dominance. This is our red X spell. X red for an instant. It's instant speed. Deal X damage to any target. That's pretty good for 2 red off the front. But you also get this ability. You may cast a card with the converted mana cost X or less from your hand without paying its mana cost. I mean, so you don't get to do another X spell because X would have to be 0 in that case.
Yeah.
But you get to fire this off, and then you get to whenever you may cast. So that's part of the resolution. So this hits first, and then you cast that spell. So you don't get to sneak the spell out first in case it's a damage doubler.
My question is, do you get to cast like a sorcery with this? You get to cast a creature at instant speed.
Yes.
So this also kind of is like a quicken, right? Because it makes the next thing you cast instant speed. Yeah. So if that's true, like this card is really good, I think.
Yeah, I like the line where, like, on your end step, I cast it X equals 6, and then I sneak out my Charmbreaker Devils, and then they're on my board for my upkeep, so I get to maybe I'll get Electro Dominance back. I don't know.
That is really cool. Yeah, I think this card is like really fun. I love this card.
I do too. I love it. It's going in Neheb guaranteed.
Oh yeah, guaranteed. I think I think there's a bunch of different like this. This is the type of instant you can throw in like a big green red creature deck using Electro Dominance to like kill something or like whatever, bring someone's life total down, and then just like flash out a really big creature.
Oh yeah,
right. Like again, if that's the way it works, I think you're right in that it does, but if it doesn't work that way, it's a little bit.
No, it does.
Good,
we've encountered this before because this is part of this spell's effect.
Right.
And this spell is an instant, so we get to.
I love it. Okay, great. Then I think this card is awesome, and it's probably one of my favorite cards in the set for EDH. Then, next we have in red Mirror March. Everyone's going to think this is Mirror Match because I definitely thought that at first, and I noticed, Sean, that's what you wrote in the notes as well. And then I had to look twice because I was like, wait a second, that's not a T. But Mirror March is a 6-mana enchantment. Usually these are pretty fun for Commander, so let's see what we got. It's the 6-mana enchantment that says, whenever a non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, flip a coin until you lose a flip. For each flip you won, create a token that's a copy of that creature. Those tokens gain haste. Exile them at the beginning of the next end step. So, what's that card from? Oh, I don't remember the name of it. But there's one where you get to pay red. You get to pay 1 red whenever something comes in. You can make a token copy of it, and then same effect, right? Haste, and you sack it,
right?
Or exile it. That card is, I think, really good in those ETB effect decks. I think as an enchantment on itself, it costs like 4, I think. Whereas this one costs 6, and you might not even get anything from it.
Yeah.
But you also might get more.
It triggers every time a non-token creature enters the battlefield.
Under your control.
It's not like a under your control. It's not like a before combat, so you could get this more than once per turn. Mm-hmm. But the possibility of whiffing is real, but the possibility of hitting the jackpot is also real. I don't know, man. I say you run one for the possible stories until you get so mad at it, and then you cut it.
You're going to, on average, I guess the average is what? You're going to get, 1.5 of these, or 1?
You're going to get half.
You're going to get
0.5.
So, yeah, that's what it is. Yeah, 0.5. So, is that worth it for 6 mana? I'd rather just run that other card, which I will now look up and see what it is.
You have to pay with that other one, though. Like, this one, it just happens.
It's 1 red, though.
It's 1 red, but, like, I don't know. The world where I get 2 bonus Siege Gang commanders is pretty awesome to me.
Definitely. Flame Shadow Conjuring is the card I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing. It's the exact same thing, except you pay 1 red to do it, which
I think it just comes down to your personality. Like, if you just if you don't mind missing sometimes for the possibility of getting 2 or 3 but mere battle spheres when you cast them, that's pretty cool.
I feel like getting 3 is a pipe dream. Like, you're getting 1 or 2.
It's gonna happen.
For sure, it's gonna happen eventually. But
like, you can't count on it. But like, I like living in a world where that's possible.
Well, you do live in that world. It is technically possible. I'm just saying, don't count on it. And I think obviously this goes in the Zinder split Okun like coin flip
huge.
deck, and I like that we're getting things for that. Like I like that flipping coins is kind of back, which is with Rakdos and with Mirror March here. So I don't know. I like that it exists. I just don't think it's all that good.
No, it is not good, but it's very fun.
It is fun. It's lots of fun. And that is it for red.
Red's done.
Red's done.
Let's go to green. First green card we're going to talk about is Biogenic Ooze. 3 green for an ooze, obviously. 2/2. When it enters the battlefield, create a 2/2 green ooze. So you're getting 4/4 worth of power for 5. Mm-hmm. At the beginning of your end step, put a +1/+1 counter on each ooze you control. So it's really like 6 power for that 5 mana. Mm-hmm. But then it says 1 green, create a 2/2 green ooze creature token. That's amazing.
Yeah, I think this is pretty solid. Obviously on its own, it can create creature tokens, which I love. I'm excited that maybe there is actually an ooze deck, an ooze tribal, and that Biogenic Ooze is going to be one of the best cards in that deck. Usually I don't like to highlight cards if they're only good in like a tribal deck, but I think this guy just has so many like different abilities. Like he can go in an ETB, like an ETB type of deck. I mean, he's got +1/+1 counters. Like there's a lot of possible synergies here. Counters, ETBs, and tokens. Like I think that's worth mentioning for EDH, and I think that this card could probably go in a lot of stuff. Who knows if this is going to be too expensive because it is a mythic and maybe it'll be good in standard or something. But anyways, I think it's just neat. I think it's cool.
I think so too. Very, very flavor wise, like this ooze is multiplying. They're all getting bigger. It's really good.
Yeah. Next in green, we have End-Raze Forerunners, which is 5 green. So 8 mana total for a 7/7 boar, and it has Vigilance, Trample, and Haste. Love it. And it says when End-Raze Forerunners enters the battlefield, other creatures you control get +2/+2 and gain Vigilance and Trample until end of turn. I think we have our poor man's Craterhoof Behemoth. I think we have this. This is what this is.
Yeah, this is amazing.
This is good. Like this is, again, like probably not as good as Craterhoof, but like it's like they get closer and closer with every one of these they put out. Like not only are we getting +2/+2, we are getting Trample, and we're getting Vigilance, and this thing is a 7/7 and has Vigilance and Trample and Haste itself. So like, yeah, this is getting pretty close to Craterhoof.
Well, and the fact that it gives you Vigilance is a nod to the multiplayer format, because we get to swing out on a player with a bunch of tokens and they're all big and they all got Trample and Vigilance, and we'll probably kill that one player, but we might not kill everybody. But then it's like, well, my whole board's up for the next person, so go ahead, go nuts.
Yeah, definitely. In that respect, it might be, I don't know, might be better in certain situations, I suppose. But it's, we're talking about one of the best cards in the format. But
I would rather pay the 80 cents for this than the $20 for Craterhoof.
Agreed. And yeah, it really, really, truly does come down to that. It's like, yeah, you're losing a few power points, but this card is probably still going to do the same thing you want. Plus, Vigilance means that you don't have to decide whether or not you're gonna, kill one player and maybe die. You know what I mean? Like it's a little easier of a decision. Overrun effects usually don't need to be +10/+10. Like obviously it's better if they are, because you don't need to attack as many things. But a lot of times +2/+2 will do it for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Plus you probably have other things to pump at that point in the game, anyways. But End-Raze Forerunners is a decent impression, I'd say.
True. Let's talk about Guardian Project. 3 and a green for an enchantment. Whenever a non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, if it doesn't have the same name as another creature you control or a creature card in your graveyard, draw a card. Guess what? Singleton format. Unless you're doing that Advisor's Tribal, this is going to work. So, yeah.
Yep.
Do you like drawing a bunch of cards? This is an enchantment for you.
Yeah, it's we love drawing cards, so this is going to be solid.
Great.
Yep, great. Simple as that. Good card.
Simple.
Next is Incubation Druid. 1 and a green for an elf druid. It's an 0/2. It taps to add 1 mana of any type that a land you control could produce. But if it has a +1/+1 counter on it, add 3 mana of that type instead. And it has 5, so 3 and 2 green to adapt 3. So you can put 3 counters on this, make it a 3/5. and you can be tapping for 3 mana. Or in EDH, if you just have any other way to just slide a 1/1 counter on it somehow, graft, anything like that comes into mind. You've got a 3 mana dork, which is significant and I think worth. Worth it. Yeah.
This card's a big commander card for sure.
Yeah, and it is any. You add 3 mana of any color that lands you could produce already. So that flexibility I think is really, really solid.
Yeah. But interesting they didn't say any color.
What do you mean?
Like they didn't just say add 1 mana of any color.
Yeah.
They specifically said any land you control could produce.
It is tied.
Which is a weird in-between.
Yeah, it is kind of weird. I agree. Yeah, I guess they're trying to just mediate the power of it. But, in Commander, I think it's like, whatever. It's the same thing. If you have your command tower out, you're laughing.
Yep. Okay, next green card is Rampage of the Clans, 3 and a green. Instant. Destroy all artifacts and enchantments. Here we go. This is our enchantment and artifact wrath.
Yep.
For each permanent destroyed this way, its controller creates a 3/3 green centaur creature token. Ooh, maybe not. So these, we have to pay attention to the effects that destroy all XYZ. In this case, artifacts and enchantments. But usually when we run these sort of mass removal, it's because our opponents have more than us and we need to deal with it. Mm-hmm. But if our opponents do have more than us, we don't want to give them all these green centaurs. There is a corner case where you have some sort of ability where when opponents make creatures, bad things happen. But I mean, in general, this is a tough call for me.
Yeah, I agree. There's definitely some significant downside here, but there is also some pretty decent upside in that it's an instant speed 4 mana do this, right? That's pretty decent. So you can do this, right before your turn starts so that they can't attack you with these centaurs right away.
That's true.
And you're going to watch this is just basically unplayable in any kind of token artifact deck or against a token artifact deck. If you play this against Brea Hellkite, great. Now you've just upgraded all my 1/1 Thopters or 1/1 servos or whatever into 3/3 centaurs, which is yikes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you have to look out. It's a bit of a meta call, but it's still you know what? This might be nicer early in the game to get rid of those mana rocks and or 1 or 2 good enchantments that have come down as opposed to waiting till the end when we've got a ton of artifacts out. So I don't know. Worth talking about. I'm sure there's something in there where we can steal. Oh yeah, pair this up with the blue guy, the cut purse. Or whatever he's called.
Oh yeah, where all the tokens come. That's the combo.
That's right, a nice little combo. Yeah, that's decent.
Yep.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Oh my god.
What's our last one here?
Ooh, our last one, Wilderness Reclamation, 3 and a green enchantment. At the beginning of your end step, untap all lands you control.
Ooh, that's spicy.
Yeah.
It's like a fair version of untapping everything on your opponent's upkeeps.
Right, you get 1 shot, extra shot.
Yeah,
you got all your mana for sorceries, and then you get them all again for instants.
Yeah, which I think is if you're playing Rush Me, right? Where you want to have a lot of instants in there, but it's also a green-blue strategy, so maybe you do want to play a creature or two. I think this is a pretty nice card for that deck.
Yeah, agreed.
And just in general, I like mentioning this is an uncommon, so this is again it's that type of card, but for a little more budget style player, right? So you don't have to pay the big bucks for what's it called? The green one, the creature that does this, but it's on the that untaps every time. Anyways, that card's expensive, but here's one where you only get to do it once, but a lot of times that's all you need, right? So I think Wilderness Reclamation has a real spot in some decks. I think this is a good card.
I think so too. Yeah, I like it.
Great. Well, that does it for our mono-colored cards from Ravnica Allegiance. I went into this thinking there was actually it's just so for Commander, but I'm seeing a lot of specific stuff for sure. But some of this some of this stuff's really good. I'm kind of into it a little more than I thought I would be actually.
Yeah, I'm kind of into some of these for sure.
All right.
So that was our monocolor cards. Mm-hmm. Thanks for listening. But stay tuned. We're going to keep rolling here. We've got a bunch of cool multicolor cards we want to bring at you. So we're about to do that now. And we'll start with the guilds. In no particular order. We'll start with Azorius. The first Azorius card we want to mention is Emergency Powers. 5 white, blue, instant. Each player shuffles their hand and graveyard into their libraries, draws 7 cards, and exile Emergency Powers. Addendum. If you cast this during your main phase, you may put a permanent card with converted mana cost 7 or less from your hand onto the battlefield.
So you get to, if you addendum this, you do the shuffle, you do the draw, and then you do addendum. That is
right.
That is the rules thing. It goes in the order you see it on the card.
Right.
So hopefully you drew something really cool, and you just get to cast it for free. You've also though refilled your opponent's hands if they were lower.
Why would you ever do this not as an
addendum.
Instant?
Not as an instant, because you want the addendum, right?
But why would you? Why is the addendum ever preferable to just casting it on my opponent's end step as an instant?
I guess you just get more you get more value that way. Like you get to, so normally the thing would be like I want to cast this on my opponent's end step because
right.
I want to get the first crack at using all these cards. I want to get the first crack at so I can untap and then just go. But right. I guess doing it as a source, like doing it as sorcery, like with addendum, you kind of get that already because you get to cast the thing for free. So you kind of already start. So you do get the first crack at it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Next card. So emergency powers, controversial. That's what we like around here. Next card from Azorius is High Alert. It's 1 white, blue for an enchantment that says each creature you control assigns combat damage equal to its toughness rather than its power. Creatures you control can attack as though they didn't have defender, and then you can pay 2 white, blue to untap a target creature. So Arcades is going to love this card. I actually think that's the only reason they probably put this in the deck is or in the set rather, just to give that, there's only like 2 versions, two cards that do this for Arcades. So now they got another one. It now you can do it in white and blue. I think it's cool. It's nothing super powerful, obviously, but it's neat.
This is probably a beautiful foil.
Yeah, it does. The art is really neat on it. You can put together your white-blue only wall deck if you want.
Yep, it's true.
High Alert will be helpful there. Anyways, that's Azorius. So,
boom.
Yeah. Emergency powers. Questionable.
Let's move on to Andy's favorite guild, the Simic Guild.
Here we go.
Starting with Biomancer's Familiar. Blue-green for a 2/2 mutant. Activated abilities of creatures you control cost 2 less to activate. 2 generic. This effect can't reduce the amount of mana an ability costs to less than 1. Tap. The next time target creature adapts, it adapts as though it had no +1/+1 counters on it. So this is a way around extra adapting, but that's not our main commander concern. Our main interest is making activated abilities cost 2 less. That is amazing.
Yeah, definitely.
That's going to turn some activated abilities from pretty good to like almost broken.
Yeah, and I do like that it doesn't like reduce them to 0. That I think is important. But definitely those 3-4 mana abilities, like that's reasonable, man. Like that's really cool.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Any green or blue level ups become super cheap to level up.
Yeah. A lot of the guild mages, the Simic guild mages, and then obviously if you're expanding this into 3 or 4 color decks, you're going to be able to do that as well. So yeah, this has some cool potential here.
Very cool potential. You'll know if you want it for sure.
I gotta say this. I gotta question one thing about this card though.
Yeah.
It's the creature type is just mutant.
Yeah. Why isn't it a mutant something?
Right? Doesn't it have to be something else? You can't just be a mutant, right? Like you're
a mutant something.
You're a mutant human frog or something, right? Like you have to be something. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles are turtle mutants. Like they're mutants of turtles. You can't just be a mutant, I don't think.
And then, or you're unless we're suggesting it came out of ooze, but then it's a mutant ooze.
Exactly, and like you had like there has to be other DNA inside of this thing. Like maybe it's just so much. Like maybe there's 30 different creatures in this mutant, so they're just like, okay, whatever.
They ran out of the type line.
Yeah, they're like okay, whatever. Even the Biomancer himself is like, yeah, it's just a mutant. I don't know.
I don't know what category to put you in. Get out of here.
Yeah. Anyways, in which case I feel kind of bad for this little guy. Anyways, next Simic card is Frilled Mystic. 2 green, 2 blue for an elf lizard wizard. Love that type line. It's a 3/2 with flash, and it says whenever when it enters the battlefield, you counter target spell. Some people love these cards. Some people couldn't be bothered. I go by deck. I think this is going to be great in those blink decks where you can flash this thing in and out. Maybe obviously what's the Deadeye Navigator is going to love this card. Although we do already have some of these cards. They kind of already exist. They're decent in Commander. You'll know the deck you want them in. I don't know. Not much more to be said.
Yeah. Let's talk about Simic Ascendancy then. It's an enchantment for blue-green, and it has an ability 1 green-blue. Put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. Not bad. Not a bad mana sink. I'll take that. Whenever one or more +1/+1 counters are put on a creature you control, put that many growth counters on Simic Ascendancy. Okay, so I get those counters whether I've paid for it with this or whether I'm just doing +1/+1 counters by natural ways. Cool, great. At the beginning of your upkeep, if Simic Ascendancy has 20 or more growth counters on it, you win the game. What?
Wow.
That's so easy. It feels like that's easy. Hydras, or what is it? Forgotten Ancient, I'm getting free +1/+1 counters while my opponents are playing spells. This card's going to be annoying. This card's going to hit the table and people are going to be like, oh no, we can't. We don't have a way to stop this right now. We better draw it.
Yeah. I mean, alt win cons, I like to see them. This one seems pretty good.
Yeah.
I don't know. If this is what you want to go for in your +1/+1 counter deck, this seems very good.
Oh man, yep.
Yeah,
yep.
I think we're gonna see some wins with this card. But yeah,
just
say it comes out on 2. It's not unreasonable for this to win you the game by turn 5 or 6 or something. Maybe even faster depending on what's going on. I don't know. But yeah, seems like it's decent. But again, very narrow, very specific.
Yeah. Great.
Yeah,
we're moving on to Gruul now.
Yeah, that's it for Simic. Let's move into Gruul territory here. Starting with Cindervines. Red and a green for an enchantment that says whenever an opponent casts a non-creature spell, Cindervines deals 1 damage to that player. And then you can pay 1 generic to sacrifice Cindervines and destroy target artifact or enchantment. Cindervines deals 2 damage to that permanent's controller. This is interesting. I think, obviously this is gonna. Yeah, wow, that's weird. That's not even. I was thinking the Rakdos mechanic. That's the one that this would care about, kind of.
Yeah.
Actually, no. What? This activates the Rakdos stuff. No, it doesn't.
It does. It activates Spectacle.
It activates Spectacle, but only on your opponent's turns, basically. Oh, no, it's non-creature spell, so I guess it could be instant speed. Anyways.
Oh, I see the first part. I was thinking of the second part where it does 2 damage to that permanent's controller.
Yeah, that does that too. It's weird. It feels like it wants to be in Rakdos. But as far as...
It's a 3 mana destroy target artifact or enchantment due to damage at its base. That's what we probably care about the most, and that's not awful. I prefer to exile at that speed, but I'll take a destroy. I think having it as an onboard trick is something. It will make your opponents maybe not play important artifacts or enchantments, which is almost as good as destroying them. So I think that's a plus.
Yeah, that's something. The non-creature spell thing dealing damage to them is probably not relevant enough to stop them from doing anything important, I think. Maybe Storm players might, if you got a Storm type of deck, you might worry about it, but it's only 1 damage.
I mean, it seems like a reasonable replacement for another destroy artifact enchantment spell that might incidentally get you a bunch more damage.
Yeah, I mean, if that's what you're looking for, I'm not too excited about it.
I'm not excited, but I don't hate it.
Yeah. All right. Take a look at Rhythm of the Wild. Wait, did I read the last one or did you? No.
I don't remember.
This is your turn.
Okay, Rhythm of the Wild. 1 red-green enchantment. Creature spells you control can't be countered. I love that. Non-token creatures you control have Riot, which means when they enter, you can either have them enter with a +1/+1 counter or enter with haste. That's very good.
This one I'm more excited for. The creature spells can't be countered is notable, and then giving everything haste. We run, we've seen Fires of Yavimaya be run. We've seen Hammer of Perforos. These are good red and Gruul enchantments that will come down and give everyone haste.
Anger. We love anger.
We love anger. I mean, anger's a little different. Anger sits in the graveyard and is kind of, the best option, kind of. Just very difficult to get rid of it. But these 2 abilities, the haste, even then the +1/+1 counter, if it's not relevant, is like if the haste isn't relevant, the +1/+1 counter is welcome, right? And the not being able to be countered, I think that's something. Like, I think Fires of Yavimaya is now an irrelevant card in EDH unless you want to double up on this ability, because this card is the same mana cost and just kind of better.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, I like this card. This is cool.
And it's an uncommon.
Yeah, this is cool for Gruul.
Cool for Gruul. Yeah.
Next,
what's the next one?
Yeah, next one is Sunder Shaman, red, green for the giant shaman. It's a 5/5. He can't be blocked by more than one creature. And also, whenever Sunder Shaman deals combat damage to a player, destroy target artifact or enchantment that player controls. I think it's always kind of relevant if you can get a creature that does this, repeatedly, that it can be EDH relevant. Give this thing trample, and all of a sudden it's it's kind of tough to deal with, right? So, yeah, I like this card. You probably want to throw this into those types of like 5 power or greater, types of things, maybe, right? Like, this can be, if you can sneak this through, or again give it trample, I think it's pretty good.
I think the fact that it can't be blocked by more than one creature means there's definitely boards where you're going to find an opponent where, like, I'm going to eat something of yours.
Yeah.
Like, you either will have to throw one creature away as a chump, or I'm going to eat one of your artifacts and enchantments. I think that's decent.
Yeah, good call. That is decent. Look for this in your Gruul decks. This might be pretty good.
Yeah, throw some sort of equipment on this thing, and it certainly is like basically enchantment removal. That, like, there was that one flying one, the Trigon Predator. Yeah. That one was always so small and it was so easily blocked. I felt like it never did its job, but I think this one might do its job.
I mean, it does. Trigon Predator is still pretty good, and I find it does its job a reasonable amount of the time. Sunder Shaman, you're going to find it a little bit harder. There's a bit more setup there, but like you said, you're still at least probably eating something every time it attacks. So.
Yeah,
there's that.
I like that.
Yeah, all right. Let's move on to Rakdos.
Oh, Rakdos. First one up. Big card here. Bedevil. Black, red for an instant. Destroy target artifact, creature, or planeswalker. So, yeah, that's pretty good. We had Terminate, which was black, red, destroy target creature at instant.
Yeah,
then they gave us the sorcery version that let us hit planeswalkers. They bumped it back up to instant for an extra black and threw in artifacts. I'll take it.
Yeah, I think I'll take it as well. Like, the flexibility is key in EDH, and I think we talked about removal recently on the show, and like, targeted removal is still important. Like, don't just get down on it because it can represent card disadvantage. Like, sometimes it is important, you need it, and you're going to be happy to have a Bedevil in your Rakdos decks, I think.
Yep.
Next, we have Captive Audience. 5 black, red for an enchantment. This is a mythic. I love the art on Captive Audience.
Yeah.
They are into it, whatever they're seeing. They are appalled by it. Some are happy. It's great. Captive Audience enters the battlefield under the control of an opponent of your choice. At the beginning of your upkeep, choose one that hasn't been chosen. So this is what your opponent has to choose. Your life total becomes 4. Discard your hand, or each opponent creates 5 2/2 black zombie creature tokens. Wow, this is wild. Like, this is crazy.
I'm excited.
Yeah,
I'm excited about this card.
I'm excited about this card. Like, I don't know what deck it goes in, but I like it. I think it's really neat that they're playing in this space, the space of casting a card and it comes down on your opponent's side, right?
Yeah.
Like, we saw that with Zathrid has a similar kind of ability. This is cool. 7 mana is a lot, but if they can't get rid of it, they're in trouble.
Like, you can't choose life total becomes 4. It's too easy to get killed out of nowhere.
Yeah, exactly.
You kind of can't choose discard your hand because it's like, well, then now I'm not playing, right? Like, now I'm basically out of the game. So if each opponent gets 5 zombies, they're like, man, I hope they're not all going to come at me. I just hope at least that.
Well, everyone's going to feel. I mean, unless this person's way out ahead, everyone's going to feel bad for whoever gets Captive Audienced. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're going to feel bad for that person, and I feel like they're not going to come at you with the zombies right away. But if your life total becomes 4, you might see a few zombies sent your way,
Right. But they have to choose one each upkeep that hasn't been chosen. So, like, if they give you the zombies now, if they don't deal with it, then they have to discard their hand, or then their life total becomes 4.
What a great, like, this is a very good card to play when you're behind. Like, this is, put this on the best player. But then be aware, though, that player is coming after you because they're going to try and kill you so that they can get rid of the captive audience.
Yeah, but they can't kill you before they've done it.
It's true.
Like, their turn begins and they have to pick one.
They have to give you zombies, which, unless I guess their hand is so low and on cards, they just discard their hand.
Sure, do that first. But then what? Then what? What are they doing to come at you? I love it. I think the captive audience best describes everyone else at the table when, like, we wait for them to pick.
Yeah, this is a very cool card. Love this type of design. This is neat.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
Ooh, next up we have Theater of Horrors. It's a 1 black red enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, exile the top card of your library. During your turn, if an opponent lost life this turn, you may play cards exiled with Theater of Horrors. 3 in a red, Theater of Horrors deals 1 damage to target opponent or planeswalkers. So it's not the worst mana sink in the world to do 1 damage, but it basically stockpiles cards in exile that if you ever do damage, you get to just play them on another part of your turn.
Yeah.
I think that's this is good card advantage over time, that you'll get a nice little pile of cards, and if they let any token through, you get to play those cards. I think this is great.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think like black has enough card advantage built into it that you won't, like, if you're in strictly Rakdos, where it seems like this would be good, you probably don't really need to run this. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you can get enough of the good black card draw anyways. I mean, it does hit your life total. I guess if you're afraid of that, you might want to run something like this. It's still fine to put in like Mogus and things like that, where you're doing damage every turn and all that kind of thing. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I like it. I just don't know how necessary it is.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Next we have oh no, we're done. Rakdos is done.
No, we're not.
Yeah, we are.
Oh, Rakdos is done. Yeah.
Rakdos is done. Orzhov is next. Starting with Ethereal Absolution, 4 white black for an enchantment that says creatures you control get +1/+1. Creatures your opponents control get -1/-1. And then you have the ability of 2 white black, exile target card from an opponent's graveyard. If it was a creature card, you create a 1/1 white and black spirit creature token with fly. So this one, see, it's 6 mana for an anthem is what it kind of equates to a +2/+2 anthem. Is kind of a lot. Even this ability here to exile a target card from an opponent's graveyard. Obviously, Graveyard Hate is great to have. And it is target card. It's not just a creature. So that is actually pretty sweet. But what I think about this card that's interesting is do not underestimate the ability of giving your opponent's creatures -1/-1. That can be very relevant, right? Nothing with 1 toughness even survives on their board. Like, think of, like, Elish Norn is -2, right? Is you get +2 and they get -2, and that is oppressive. Whereas,
true.
So -1/-1 is obviously less than that, but like no token creation can happen really. Like the 1/1 token strategies are just off the board now.
Yeah,
like they can't even get out to to help. So, I think it's a little better than it looks. I think this card looks like it's just kind of a clunky anthem, but I think it is a little bit better than that, and I think that the tacked on Graveyard Hate is something. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how good it is, but I do think it is a little better than it looks.
Yeah, it's a pricey cost up front, but I do think that's a super relevant ability for sure.
Yep.
Now we got a card called Final Payment. Orzhov getting great removal. Black-white instant as an additional cost to cast, pay 5 life, or sacrifice a creature or enchantment, destroy target creature. I mean, that's pretty cheap. Being able to pay life is a bonus because we have 40. We can also sack a creature, which is actually might be a plus in a lot of decks that run these colors. Anyway, is this better than the other one, Anguish I'm making? I don't think so, but it's pretty powerful.
Yeah, it's destroy. I'd like to see the say Exile, but it is a common, so finding commons that are relevant to EDH is kind of tough these days, but this one's not the worst.
Yeah.
Next we have Kaya's Wrath, white, black for a sorcery that says destroy all creatures. You gain life equal to the number of creatures you controlled that were destroyed this way.
Yeah. Another Wrath.
Nice to have another Wrath. Orzhov only, obviously, But
literally a wrath.
Yeah, it is a wrath. Kaya's wrath. So I guess she kills the Obsidat. That's neat.
Yep.
Right? Karlov's gone. He's dead. The ghost assassin did some extra work here in Orzhov.
Finally.
Yeah, right? Yeah, I like this card. I mean, it's harder to cast. Like, are we going to put this index over Fumigate for that extra mana? Are we going to put that, how badly are we going to have, do we want to be destroying creatures and gaining life? It's a pretty intense mana cost.
I think in Standard is very excited for a 4-mana Wrath, but in Commander, the mana cost is not that difficult. Like, if you're black-white, you probably can do this, but I just think a 5-mana Wrath is basically as good as a 4. I don't think this is I bet you this is a card that will be worth some money in the store, so if you open this in a draft or something, I would probably sell it now and just trade it in for a Fumigate.
Yeah, I can't really see how much. It says it's listed at 6 right now for pre-order, so it depending on whether or not it's used, it'll either go up or go down, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, keep an eye out on it. That's all. And there's one more here.
Oh, this is a good one. Pitiless Pontiff. Black-white for a vampire cleric. 2/2. 1. Sacrifice another creature. Pitiless Pontiff gains Death Touch and indestructible until end of turn. I mean, you nailed it, Andy. You pointed out that a sack outlet that gives you indestructibility is very good.
Yeah, and despite having to pay the 1, which obviously isn't perfect, I do think that the protection that it gives itself is relevant. I mentioned last week on the show how we liked the aristocrat guy, the Orzhov one that gave it protection from a creature,
yes.
from a color. This is probably better than that, except for the fact that it's not free. So there is that downside. So it's you're getting a little bit of a trade off, but I do think that this card is can be really good in some, like, this just survives board wraths, which is really good. Like, that's better than that for that reason. And
it gets Death Touch and indestructible, which means no one can attack you on the ground ever.
Yeah, great defensive cards, certainly.
Yeah, you'll just destroy. You'll make it invincible. You will give a Death Touch, and it will survive anything. So, not bad.
Yeah, not bad. I like we said again in that sort of sacrificey episode. You're definitely always looking for free sack outlets, but don't sleep on the ones that cost you 1 generic and have a really good effect. And this is definitely one of them now.
Yeah.
Okay, that is it for the guilds. That is it for the monocolors, the guilds. We've hit all our artifacts we want to talk about. Of course, we have the lockets. I mean, we didn't mention that off the top, but they're there. They're whatever. Some people really like them in EDH, and some people say meh. Lands, nothing new or interesting, right? There's nothing that jumped out at us for lands.
No fantastic new effects or any spectacular ones. We're getting the shock lands again, as you know. So we bring this up because they're useful lands because they carry the type of the thing. So, for example, Breeding Pool is a forest and an island. And because it's in a current set, this is probably the lowest they'll be in price. So pick them up now if you want them for your decks.
Yeah, like I think currently mostly these are going for like $5 or $6, which is great. Really great. So definitely.
Really great.
Definitely grab those. Yeah, man, there's not even anything reasonable lands wise. I'm just taking another look just in case we missed anything, and guess what? We did not. Okay, let's move right along then to the planeswalkers.
Yeah, this is the only thing we didn't talk about. There's 3 planeswalkers you can get in the set in the packs, and then there's the 2 planeswalkers that come in the planeswalker decks. We'll just go through them. The planeswalkers have been taking a turn in how they develop them. They are less powerful than normal.
Yeah,
they tend to point towards more of a streamlined strategy instead of just doing good things.
Yeah, which I think is interesting. So we have Dovin, Grand Arbiter. Dovin's here, 1 white-blue for the 3 loyalty planeswalker. So they're toying with this 3-mana planeswalker thing. 3 abilities +1. Until end of turn, whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, put a loyalty counter on Dovin, Grand Arbiter. So, pump up that loyalty. -1, create a 1/1 colorless Thopter artifact creature token with flying. You gain 1 life. Okay.
Not bad.
A little bit of protection, not bad. And the ultimate is -7. Look at the top 10 cards of your library. Put 3 of them into your hand and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. So, yeah, like you said, right? Like, that's not a game-ending ultimate. None of these abilities seem way overpowered. what you're getting is some pretty good card advantage if you can hit that 7. Which, you know, if you've run if you're playing this in a deck with lots of Thopters and tokens and stuff, like +1, and you might be in ultimate range the first time you do this, right?
Yeah.
You might drop Dovin, swing with 5 or 6 creatures, and then be ready to go.
I mean, you just got to hit with 3.
And I kind of like that because this isn't super, like, threatening, right? And I like that. So I like this kind of underpowered Planeswalker where the ultimate isn't like something that's definitely going to make you win. Like, instead, you're just like, you know, you're looking at 3 cards or 10 cards, grabbing 3 of them.
I do too. I like it.
So that's cool. So and even like we're saying, like, it does protect itself, and ideally, actually, you're not even casting Dovin until you have a bunch of creatures out, anyways.
Yeah, it doesn't protect itself with the plus, which is the main thing.
Yeah, but it does in a pinch. But like, don't cast this card if you don't have any other creatures.
Yeah. If you don't have any other creatures, you could cast Domri Chaosbringer, 2 red green. Starts with 5. And if you do +1, you add green or red to your mana pool. And if that's spent on a creature spell, it gains Riot. So it's kind of like a hasty way to get another creature out. Difficult to do that the first turn you cast it because you're spending 4 for Domri and you're getting 1 back in your mana pool. So Domri is, in a way, a 3-mana Planeswalker if you chain 2 things. Yeah. Like, -3.
If you have like a Lana War Elves that you've saved or something, or you just drew, I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. -3. Look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may reveal up to 2 creature cards and put them into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom. So 2 out of 4, like it's risky. You know, out of 4 you might hit 2, but there's a very good chance you hit 1, and there is a chance you hit 0. So, but I mean, 1 is probably guaranteed.
Yeah.
If you're in a creature deck, so that's not bad. -8, you get an emblem with, at the beginning of each end step, create a 4/4 red and green beast creature token with trample. So, like, that emblem is significant, but it's not game ending. Like, it will end the game eventually, but your opponents can deal with the beasts and they can do stuff about it. But interesting.
Yeah, it is each end step, so it's not just yours. So, you know.
Oh, I didn't notice that. That's much better.
So that's pretty good. Again, though, you're right. Like, it doesn't just end the game like the next time around. You might have, you know, whatever, 3 other beasts or something, or 4 other beasts by the time it gets back to you, and you still might not be able to attack. Like, you still might need to wait to go around again before you start swinging with them. I don't know. It seems like, but here's the thing though. It seems threatening enough that people are going to try and kill Domri right away. Like, that's going to be a main focus. Like, they definitely don't want you to get those beasts.
No, that's true.
And I think that the first 2 abilities don't do enough to protect Domri, so I think it's going to be tough to make this into an EDH card.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit of card advantage is nice, but yeah, whatever.
There's
okay.
one more Planeswalker.
One more here from the main set, and it's Kaya, Orzhov Usurper. 1 white, black, so another 3-mana Planeswalker with 3 loyalty. 3 abilities as well. 3 is the magic number here. +1, exile up to 2 target cards from a single graveyard. You gain 2 life, and if at least 1 creature card was exiled this way. -1 is exile target non-land permanent with converted mana cost 1 or less. And -5 is Kaya, Orzhov Usurper deals damage to target player equal to the number of cards that player owns in exile, and you gain that much life.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. Right. Like,
this is very difficult to use.
Yeah. This is not an EDH card.
No.
I love that there's a graveyard hating Planeswalker, but you just don't get enough out of it for Commander.
Yeah, exiling 2 cards from a graveyard at sorcery speed isn't the thing. I wouldn't mind an instant speed graveyard hate card because you can scoop up the reanimator targets after they've targeted them.
Yeah.
But this isn't, you can't keep up with a full graveyard that cares. There aren't enough non-land permanents with converted mana cost 1 or less that I care about.
No.
And that -5, how much is that really going to do?
Yeah, it's going to do 3 damage. 4?
I mean, there's the possibility if you just like do a huge trick and you exile a bunch of cards in some tricky way, like maybe there's a way to do it.
Yeah, I suppose like if you like Bojuka Bog a reanimator player or like a milled player or something like that, this could be relevant. But that seems like, well, I mean, what are you doing? Like, you're waiting for that to happen? I don't know. Kai is not. I don't think this is really an EDH card, really.
I also don't think
it doesn't seem to do enough, you know.
Agreed.
Bummer. Okay, well, let's move on to the two planeswalkers from the planeswalker decks. Maybe, a lot of times these are the ones that are costed a bit higher, and they become, as a result, a little more relevant for Commander. Let's see if that happened this time.
Yeah. The first version of the other Dovin we get is Dovin Architect of Law, 4 white-green. Dovin Planeswalker. Starts with 5, +1, gain 2 life and draw a card. Oh yeah, that's a lot for 6 mana. Gain 2 life, draw a card, and you go to 6. Doesn't protect itself. -1, tap target creature. It doesn't untap during its controller's next untap step. So I guess that technically protects it, but there's too many threats out there to really do a good job of that. Yeah. -9, tap all permanents target opponent controls. That player skips their next untap step. Whoa. Yeah. I mean, that is signif. But it's going to be tough to get there.
Yeah, and it is only one opponent, right? Like, that's the thing with us. Like, this is Commander. We're playing multiplayer. Like, even that ultimate it might shut down one player for a bit, but you've got two more coming at you still.
It's almost like it's the perfectly designed Commander for casual 2-player.
Yeah, it is. Totally. I do like the gain 2 life draw card thing. I think that's nice to have on a Commander. Or, sorry, I'll take that. A Planeswalker, rather. Yeah, but I don't think anyone's really stoked about this card for Commander. It's 6 mana, it's 5 loyalty. It doesn't do much. Yeah. Blue and white, blue specifically, doesn't need a lot of help drawing cards, so it's not even that good, really. So, yeah. Anyways, Dovin Architect of Law, not great. Let's see what the other Domri has in store for us. Domri City Smasher. Sounds fun. 6 mana, 4 red, green for the 4 loyalty Planeswalker. It's +2 is creatures you control get +1/+1 and gain haste. -3 is until end of turn. -3 is Domri City Smasher deals 3 damage to any target. And -8 is put 3 +1/+1 counters on each creature you control. Those creatures gain trample until end of turn.
Overrun.
Yeah, overrun. I'm going to overrun away from these Planeswalker cards. I'm not really interested,
How can you pay 6 for a card and then give your creatures haste?
Yeah, right. That is not a relevant thing. It doesn't matter.
I guess the next creature on their next turn gets haste, but then 3 damage for your -3? -3 damage? That's all you're gonna do for -3? Domri.
Domri. Take your loyalty down to 1 for that?
Domri.
Like, this is
no way.
Obviously, this is probably fine in the deck it comes in, and getting new players into learning how the Planeswalkers work and all that kind of stuff. But
yeah,
it feels like they've maybe shied away from making these at all Commander relevant, at least this time around. I feel like they did it last time too. Like, I don't think anyone.
Yeah.
Whereas when they first started coming out, we were like, actually, these cards are pretty okay in Commander. Like, yeah, they cost a bit more, but we had some bigger payoffs for them. But it's not the case here.
I was hoping we were going to get that.
I know. Anyways, well, there you have it, though. That is Ravnica Allegiance Commander set review. We are done.
We're done. Thanks for listening, everybody. Tell us what exciting cards you're excited for in this set. If we missed any, for sure, let us know of those. But we'd love to hear from you.
Love to hear from you. Comments, reviews on iTunes are always helpful. If you haven't done that, it's been a while since we've made the call for that. So if you're here now, you listen to this whole thing, that would be great. But otherwise, we'll see you guys next week, back with another big deck tech, back with another topic of discussion. Have great pre-releases and have lots of fun with these new cards. I know we will. See you later.
Bye. Big thanks to all our patrons who make these episodes possible.
Yeah, and if you want to check out more comedy videos, check out our Brews News playlist.
Make sure you follow us on Twitch TV to see when we play live.
If you want to chat with us, head over to Twitter. We're at Commanders Brew.
And please hit subscribe to ding the bell and find out when we got new stuff coming out.
See you next time.
Bye.